Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trawled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello dear listener and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin and with me as always is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son, Thomas.
Hi, hello.
What have you been up to?
Well, I went out on Friday and then I came back.
That was most mysterious. You went out.
To town.
Yes.
And then I came back.
You did?
Mm-hmm. And I was going to say something else, but now I've forgotten it because...
I interrupted.
You did. I have finished my playthrough of Power Wash Simulator. Very interesting ending.
Right.
Lots of things happened. which you wouldn't expect from a Power Wash Simulator.
Right.
But they did happen.
Did you have to extinguish fire or something?
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
No. Did save the world.
Oh, well, that's I guess, a compromise from putting out fires. Okay. You at least got to save the world.
There probably would have been several fires if I had not saved the world.
Right. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Package-wise, the felt
Oh,
picks have not arrived.
Oh. You had me really excited there. I thought, oh.
And another package has, again, after 10 days of apparently having been received by an international carrier, which is to say an Australian carrier, has again been received by an international carrier.
They're playing hot potato with it.
The good news is that the alternative tracking number that I have for the package, not the Chinese one,
right,
the one from America, does actually work now. So it definitely is in the hands of the company that will deliver it to me. When it will get here is anyone's guess.
Right.
Yeah.
I received 2 packages this week.
Oh.
We might get onto that a little later.
Oh. Well, that's intriguing.
If I remember, you'll have to remind me during that segment. Anything else?
No, that was about it for now.
For now, yes. As for me, more walks. And I went for a plasma donation yesterday. And got there and did all my signing in, and they said, "Oh, could you please do whole blood rather than plasma today? We really, they did. They got on their knees and begged. We really need more whole blood rather than plasma." And I ummed and ahed because it means that I can't donate for 4 weeks before I can donate plasma again. Whereas if I'm just donating plasma, it's 2 weeks between plasma donations. But that's what they wanted, that's what they needed, and who am I to argue? So, yeah. The upside of that is that rather than being in the donation chair for upwards of an hour doing a plasma donation, I was in and out within 10 minutes.
It's a lot easier when you don't have to separate anything out.
That's right. The downside is that it's been ages since I've donated blood rather than plasma, and I'd forgotten how much it literally takes out of you.
Yeah.
So I felt a bit weary afterwards, and it was sort of still a bit today because you've lost an amount of red blood cells that your body can do without, but yeah, you feel a bit anemic. In fact, it can take 12 or so weeks, even more, to actually get back your hemoglobin levels to the point where you last donated whole blood. So Anyway, that's neither here nor there. We have a movie to watch.
We do have a movie
What
to watch.
are we watching today?
We are watching the 2010 live-action space battleship Yamato.
We are. Complete with subtitles. There is no dubbing on this, so we either have to quickly learn to speak Japanese, or we will have to rely on Madman Entertainment's subtitles to watch this. Because I believe they do their own in-house
I'd expect so.
subtitles. Okay, so what is it all about?
Well...
Just read off the back of the cover.
First, before I can read off the back of the cover,
Right.
another thing that I did today was write a big long bit of cultural context.
Okay. Some of which I am more conscious of than you probably were at the time that you started writing this, but please do go on.
Okay, got to get myself ready because this will be a lot of reading, and I don't usually talk this much during the podcast.
No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
Well, this is already quite a summing up.
This is the Reader's Digest version. All right.
In 1931, the Empire of Japan invaded Manchuria in northeastern China, seeking its abundant resources. The pretext for the invasion had been a false flag attack by Japan on their rail operations through the region, and the discovery of the ruse in 1932 would lead to Japan exiting the League of Nations, another domino in the long chain reaction that would eventually result in World War II. Built in 1937 and commissioned shortly after Japan's surprise attack on Pearl Harbor in late 1941, the battleship Yamato was, with her sister Musashi, the largest and most powerful battleship ever constructed. The design was intended to overcome the numeric advantage held by the US Navy. Both ships would spend time as the flagship of the Imperial Japanese Navy's combined fleet. At the peak of the empire, in 1942, Japan controlled large portions of East Asia and almost all of Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands. By 1945, they had been driven right back to their main islands. In a last-ditch effort, Yamato was sent to beach herself on Okinawa and defend the island to the death. She never arrived, sunk on the journey by overwhelming US forces. In August of 1945, the United States dropped nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, leading to Japan's surrender and the end of the Pacific Theatre. Yamato, whose name literally meant Great Harmony, remained in the Japanese consciousness, a symbol of national pride and of the empire from its rise to its fall. In 1974, animated series Space Battleship Yamato premiered on Yomiuri TV in Japan. Set in 2199, the series follows the crew of an intensively retrofitted Yamato after radioactive bombing of the Earth by the Gamelars renders the planet uninhabitable. The retrofits include a faster-than-light engine designed on the planet Iskandar, the Queen of which offers the Earth a device which can rectify the damage done if they can get there and back within a year. The series, produced by Academy Productions, almost slipped under the radar, with low viewership and high costs leading to a reduced episode order. But the key plot was re-edited into a film in 1977, which completely reversed the franchise's fortunes in Japan. This reversal would lead to a further 2 series in 1978 and 1980, 4 films between 1978 and 1983, and a 5th in 2009, and a number of spin-offs and remakes in recent years, including the live-action film we'll be watching tonight. The 1977 re-edit was released in a number of countries, eventually finding its way onto American television in Los Angeles in 1978. The Westchester Corporation bought the 2 series that then existed and had them dubbed and edited by Griffin Bacall Advertising, a relatively new agency that had been doing work for Hasbro's G.I. Joe and Transformers toys. Star Blazers, as it was dubbed, premiered in San Francisco in 1979, forming part of KTVU2's Captain Cosmic block, a mix of anime and tokusatsu, practical effects heavy live action, with the occasional series produced in the West. For example, Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons. Captain Cosmic didn't last much longer, but Star Blazers was very successful and contributed to the rise of anime fandom in Northern California. Star Blazers is notable among adapted anime of the era for largely maintaining the plot and themes of its source material. The names are westernized. Person-to-person violence, language, alcohol, and fan service are all reduced or removed, and most of the references to World War II are excised, yes, but the Japanese DNA of the series still makes it through. The first 2 series of Star Blazers would find their way over to Australia in 1983, airing weeknights on the ABC. The 3rd series did eventually receive a dub, but the entire cast was replaced, and it faded into obscurity, largely surfacing through various home video releases.
That's got me curious now. I can't remember how far the Madman release of the animated series
I think we got all of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that 3rd series didn't make it to the ABC, as far as I'm aware.
Right. But you suspect that the 3rd series is actually in that box set?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, I'm intrigued now. We did start watching it when I got it. Whilst we're on that topic of getting my hands on it, I actually won the box set of the TV series, even though that's not what I was originally going to win. There was a Madman competition on Facebook in December of 2011. It was a case of, so we need to pick the recipient of our Christmas swag. We were going to pick a random, however, what might be more fun is if you tell us your favourite Madman release of 2011 and why. And the review that is most skillful, read amusing, concise and spot on, as judged by our staff, will win. Go for it. So yeah, there was this stack of DVDs and Blu-rays that were up for grabs, and out of 34 entries on Facebook, I won with my entry, and here it is. Space Battleship Yamato is my Madman film of choice. My 11 and 12-year-olds loved it. 'Twas their first movie in a foreign voice. The battle scenes were awesome, with the wave motion gun and lasers, and soundtrack-wise, how could you not sing Our Star Blazers? Ouch. Sorry. So really bad poetry won the day, and in fact they surprised me when the box arrived with the complete box set of the animated series in there as well, which I still haven't got to watch, so must do something about that. That's appalling poetry, but it worked. So we're going to watch the 2011. Is that what we?
2010.
2010. Yeah. All right. Oh, that's right. It was released by Madman in 2011 because it didn't get a theatrical release here. I don't think. The fact that they didn't dub it. Anyway,
I am now finally going to read from the back of the case. Oh,
that's right. That hasn't happened yet.
No, it hasn't.
Good grief. Get on with it, man.
I will.
Okay.
In the year 2194, alien marauders, the Gamelons, bombard the Earth with planetary bombs sent from space. Humanity fights back, but is defeated and escapes underground. 5 years later, those who remain on the devastated planet gather together for one last plan to save the Earth. Armed with mysterious alien technology and an old battleship called the Yamato, they embark on a quest to find a device that has the power to save humanity from destruction.
A quick question, in all your research, do they know where the ship is in real life?
Yes,
right.
I'm pretty sure they know where it is. It's somewhere between where it was and Okinawa.
Right.
I think they know where it is.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we're about to find out where in sci-fi history it is by pressing the play button. And once we watch this film, we'll come back and we'll talk about it. So we shall catch you on the flip side.
Turn to side B.
Only in 364 days. Well, that's how long we've got to save the Earth. See. So, yeah. Roll the tape. So what did you think?
So,
Yes.
the acting, pretty good. Some of the effects, specifically around figures of various varieties, don't quite work.
Right.
But that's okay, because in 2010, nobody really had that figured out, so whatever. Sometimes there was no music, and I wanted there to be music underneath it, and that's somewhat of a symptom of my broader point, which is that I wish the film was paced better.
That is my unwritten big starred note, and I don't know whether that is symptomatic of the culture. It is a space opera, but also with the trimmings of melodrama and Japanese tragedy type of deal happening. And so all throughout, the pacing is variable, but that last 20 minutes feels like an eternity. It just drags.
I don't know how much putting more score in there would help, but its absence makes itself known.
Yeah, and certainly in the closing credits there was a suggestion that there was footage other than what we've seen cut out of the film, establishment of characters, non-human characters, for example, that it was suggested possibly that character was introduced a little more before what we saw on screen, and other things. There seemed to be, and I don't know whether it was a reliance on the fact that its main target audience would have known the source material quite well, but there in the movie there were big gaps felt. I certainly felt big gaps in who people were and motives, and to have a whole TV series crunched into one movie is fraught with disaster to begin with. But it really felt like it could have been done over a series of movies, but and footage had been filmed for that, and yet the length of the film seemed to be made up of moments, long moments that certainly would have had the knife taken to it in an American editing suite, for example. It was no Marvel film cut. And there were places where I really, really appreciated that. Some of the action, some of the effects during that action were just beautiful. But as you mentioned, there was certainly a variability of those effects. But when it was really, really good, it was really, 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 really good. And certainly held its age incredibly well. But the overwrought, overdrawn, the backhand to the forehead type of, this is a sad, sad, sad moment, and you will feel it. Damn it, you will feel it.
Everybody could have left in the time it took one of them to leave. Okay, that's a mild exaggeration. Maybe two of them. I did take some actual notes,
Right.
very few notes, but notes nonetheless. The wave gun
Yes.
and firing it with a gun. Just,
I noticed every time that happened, you'd get this chuckle. And my recollection is that was in the animated series from the 70s that they carried through, and certainly in its physical form and on a physical set, it was a bit farcical. But it was very much a respect of the original source material. But yes, it was maybe something they could have updated.
I don't know, I just think firing a big gun with a little gun is silly.
That carrying through of the source material, and I guess this is governed by the actual shape of the original Yamato. The lines of that ship are etched in my mind from watching the show as a kid, and that was faithfully reproduced. But again, it's a battleship, a ship in space,
Yes.
and so what more could they do? But they did it well.
So, Kodai has an analyzer, and it seems like an artificial intelligence, maybe?
Yes.
And it's the only one anywhere in the film.
His R2 unit. But that also felt like there were whole chunks missing of that as a character as well. That if it had been a live-action TV show, we would have got to appreciate that character a lot more. But it wasn't, so we didn't.
We might have had a flashback to past days in the Force when it was being used as a ship AI.
Yeah.
But we didn't.
No.
And the last note I have here is honour in death. It's an important part of Japanese culture, that is reflected in the film. We have a main character who sort of struggles with this idea of honour in death. He wants everyone to get back, and that's not realistic in a time of war, and he has to come to accept that.
Yes, I don't think I'd made that connection, which is now quite obvious in the fact that all throughout he is aggrieved by the sacrifices made by others, not recognising that they did it for the betterment of others and for saving others, and they are noble sacrifices. He just felt like he had things and people taken away from him. But when he finally is faced with that himself, that's...
And has to sacrifice a guy who we saw in one scene.
Yeah.
So it sort of hits.
It really does suffer from...
There's a lot of characters in the film, for one thing.
Yep. It's glaringly obvious the things that were missing. Just as much as the things that were there. Set up a character, kill him off. Whereas, like an epic saga, Lord of the Rings, you get to know those characters before they get killed off or have their lives threatened. So you feel for them.
You don't waste an introduction on someone who you'll never see again and dies practically off screen.
Yeah. But to a great extent, each and every one of those characters, except for possibly the main character who was sacrificed, there was that absence of feeling of that sacrifice because you barely knew those characters. The blowing up of the whatever it was they were blowing up. Those two characters, it was a dramatic scene, but that feeling for those characters was not in any way earned because we barely knew them.
I don't know that we'd seen them interact before
No,
that scene.
no. So odd and strange. And the showing of a deep bond between certain characters that you didn't see develop.
It doesn't help that, like, half of the cast of characters have pre-existing relationships.
Yeah. It has certainly strengthened my resolve to actually sit through the TV series again, which I'm quite sure will be the opposite of this. It'll be, that was an episode I didn't need to watch, that was an episode I didn't need to watch, type of deal. But
And that's after they've already had their order cut in half.
yeah. But visually, there are some moments that just knock it out of the ballpark and put these big blockbusters to shame. It had a budget of like 23 million, and you can see every dollar on screen. And to think that some of those dollars ended up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, I don't want to say that it's a bad film, because it's not. It's not a bad film.
No.
It just needed some polishing. Some filing off of some edges.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, I really don't know how much of that is just due to culture issues, a storytelling style that is different to ours, or whether it was just a case of poor editing decisions. All right. Do you have anything else?
No, that's about it from me.
But yes, I do agree that it isn't a bad movie. It is a long movie, and in places frustratingly long, and in other places frustratingly short. Yeah. All right then. Well, we shall move on then.
The following segment has no title. Thank you.
Helen,
Hi, Helen.
I hope Colin got out for a walk today, 5 days ago,
Yes, and I did.
as it was gloriously sunny.
It was an absolutely gorgeous day.
I hope Thomas's package turns up. It hasn't. If I understand correctly, the group Straight No Chaser gives away the plot twist of The Sixth Sense in their mashup, The Movie Medley. I haven't watched it either. Or Paranorman. This is a medium comment.
Yes. It is, and my understanding is that Helen was implying to the length, but I saw a deeper meaning in the comment. It was a medium comment, and read into that a medium being someone who communicates with dead people.
Such as Norman.
Yeah.
Helen has also submitted a guess.
Really?
Yes.
I had better bring up the image then. All right.
And the guess is the title of the film with all the vowels taken out, which is to say PRNRMN.
Huh. An interesting guess. That's incorrect.
Now, I don't think we got any other guesses
I don't
anywhere.
think we did either.
From Dunkel,
Hi, Dunkel.
who says that this time, instead of last-minute posting, she will first-minute post, which came in just after I'd made my marketing tweet, so... but nothing else.
No guess.
Nope.
You got to be in it to win it. Okay.
Meanwhile, on Discord, we've received several novels.
We did. It was great. I really enjoyed those novels. It was good.
Entosferatu
Hi, Into Osferatu.
writes in to say, in why we go through so much effort just to polish out everything that indicates it's stop motion, I think that really bit them with Missing Link,
Absolutely.
which lost over $100 million,
Yeah.
had a bunch of parallel filming, high-money voice actors for a film that was fine,
Yeah. That's...
but crashed and burned for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the worry that he presents that it might end like a doesn't seem to have panned out. They're coasting along on that Annapurna money.
The joys of having Nike money just Dad, can I have some more money, please?
As far as why stop motion versus computer animated, I think personally I really want to see the materials and to feel the scale and physicality of the models and sets. And Leica definitely approached the point of losing that sometimes with all of the work they do to smooth things out and hide seams and supports.
Yep.
But I think the sets still feel quite real though.
Yep. Yes.
Box Trolls is my favourite of theirs. It's the only one of theirs I haven't watched.
I'm the same,
actually.
And it's not streaming anywhere here.
No,
because I listened to a podcast reviewing that, and I thought that completely went under the radar when it was out for me, and so I will have to track it down on physical media, I think. See how I go there.
Complete our collection.
Yeah.
Apparently it has quite a Terry Pratchett feel.
Yes, that is what I believe.
And finally from Entos Fratu. Wait, Wildwood is based on a children's fantasy novel by the guy from the Decemberists and illustrated by his wife. None of which references that I get. So.
Yes, I had to look it up. And it all clicked at the time that I looked it up, and I had an aha moment. And now, do you think I can remember what it was referring to? Oh, hang on. One of the films on the horizon, I believe, is based on a book that is written by the guy he mentions, who was the one of the singers or lead singers of
the Decemberists, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I think so. And his partner actually did the illustrations in the book. They're a writing and illustrating team.
Do we have the book Wildwood on our shelf somewhere? It's sort of ringing.
Well, I looked it up and it didn't ring enough bells for me. I think there's a series of books.
Wildwood. Oh yeah, we've got that on our shelf. I recognise the cover. I haven't read it, but I recognise the cover. It's fairly distinctive.
The library is quite well stocked and
and in various places.
Yes.
It's not like our DVD and Blu-ray collection, which is almost entirely all in one place, but
almost entirely.
There's bookshelves everywhere.
Yes. All the DVDs and Blu-rays are in one place, and the books are scattered to the many bookshelves all over the house. Speaking of books, Helen last week made reference in one of the comments when we were discussing Latin. Who learns Latin? What's the point of learning Latin? When we were referring to Dead Poets Society, and she recalled a book that had two guys who ended up in Roman times, and one of them happened to have learnt Latin, which saved their bacon. And I seem to recall it too, and could not place it. Well, it turns out the reason I recognise it was that it was written by one of my favourite authors as a teen and preteen growing up. That is John Christopher. And the book was called Fireball. So early 80s John Christopher.
Old history.
Yes, the recollection that it was ancient Rome is actually Rome in current day in a parallel universe. Yes, or current day 1980s. So, and it was actually ended up being a trilogy, which I don't have any of on the shelf, but that is being remedied.
Right.
And so far it has been remedied by two.
Right.
One of them I had to get from the UK, all second-hand copies, and the first and the third one I managed to track down on eBay in Australia, and they're both now on the shelf.
Well, there we go.
So there we go.
One of the many shelves.
But it also explains my recollection of, that sent me straight back to the kids' demountable building behind the the main library in Belrive, because that is where it was, and I could probably even point at which shelf it was on. It instantly placed me back at, this is a new John Christopher book. Yay.
And finally,
Yes.
E of Pi
Hi,
writes
E
in,
of Pi.
to say, 1, short-time listener, first-time commenter.
and quite possibly, and we will entirely forgive anyone, it will be a short time.
And 2, I do think Rogue Quest is worth giving a bit more of a shot to, but then I'm a fan of LRR stuff, so if the issue is that it's a bit self-indulgent in-group stuff, which it is.
Oh yeah, and certainly watching it, the vibe that I got was that if I was a strong loading ready run fan, then it would be hitting goals all the way through, and the references and the camaraderie would be more appreciated.
Although the setups of the 3 teams was sort of designed to produce new interactions, so that's interesting.
Yeah, I certainly got that vibe in that first episode. I confess that I have not had the opportunity time-wise to watch any more, but I haven't given up on it.
On the other hand, E of Pi has successfully used it to introduce people to LRR before, though they've been a bit closer to their age. Older than me, younger than you.
Yep.
Possibly. If that is between 23 and... How old are you?
78. No. I am 54. I was born in the olden days. Yes.
We're barreling towards the point at which I'll be half as old as you are.
Yeah, and then you'll be catching up and getting closer and closer and closer.
Proportionally.
Yes, until you overtake.
That's...
Anywho, thank you all, dear listeners, for your comments. Much appreciated. Were there any more?
No.
So.
The rest of the messages here are just me warning you about the cultural context segment that I was writing and the fact that it turned out to be a page and a half.
Lucky you didn't write it in crayon, eh?
Well, then it would have been shorter, wouldn't it?
No, it would have been a lot more pages.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. I should have transcribed it in crayon.
Into Latin. In crayon.
Yeah.
Good. Hey, let's move on.
Pick a film for next week so we can go to bed. It's your turn.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, the way that the format works, I pick one, and then the next week you pick one.
All right.
And that sort of loops for a bit.
I refuse to pick one.
You refuse to pick one?
I do. So I'm going to get my phone to pick one.
You refuse
from my list.
You refuse to sing along, that's it?
That's it.
And in the bathtub, it's ridiculous? You quit? That's that?
Yes, Ernie. Okay, I've shaken the phone, and this is interesting. I don't think you've seen this.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know
I don't know which one it is.
Okay. This film was made in 1984, or released in 1984, around the same time that I first watched Star Blazers. Around that time. Okay, so here we go. On August 20, 1977, the Voyager 2 probe was launched into deep space. It carried an invitation to other intelligent species in the universe to visit our planet. Somewhere, someone listened. A change of pace for the director of such hits as Halloween, Escape from New York, and The Thing. This film is John Carpenter's spellbinding sci-fi odyssey about a benevolent alien explorer stranded on, I think that's meant to say stranded on Earth, and the woman who becomes his only hope for survival. Powered by the remarkable performances of Jeff Bridges in his Academy Award-nominated role, and Karen Allen from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and featuring special effects from ILM, a stirring music score, and a wondrous story. This film is a spectacular example of a movie's power to move us. I don't know whether you've even heard of this film.
Yeah, I'm not getting anything.
Okay, it's Starman.
Yeah, I was not going to get that.
No. So, next week, we're watching the sci-fi adventure romance drama Starman. We hope that you can join us. But until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye. You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us, in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production. Testing.
Excellent.
Peppermint.
Peppermint?
Peppermint. Peppermint?
Peppa Pig.
Da, 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 da.